Back at Fio's place, he sets up a magical barrier around the house that acts as an alarm system for any nearby demons. Rice, still salty about Euliminus, tells Fio he was too nice to let her go unpunished. But Fio reveals that he's not over what happened to Reese's brother. The guilt still haunts him. Meanwhile, the girls are hyping up Blossom for her new Dragon Slayer title, but Balarosa suddenly walks off. Turns out she's crying. She wanted that title so bad. Not for the clout, but because it could have elevated her family's status from commoners to nobles. Before she can mope too much, a mysterious wanderer appears. He's looking for Reese. Balarosa immediately gets sus vibes and pulls her weapon on him, knowing he's part of the Dark Army. She demands answers, but he simply says he just wants to talk to Reese and then leaves with a cryptic message that he will be back. He finally gives a name, Gaul, and Balarosa thinks he's super sketchy. Later, she tells Fio about him, and Reese instantly recognizes the name. Turns out, Gaul is actually Gaul, the demon lord himself. And that's not even the craziest part. The barrier detected him, confirming his identity. Balarosa is absolutely losing her mind. She was this close to being killed by the most powerful demon in existence. The next day, Gaul shows up again, this time for an official visit. Fio, completely unbothered, invites him in for tea. Balarosa, on the other hand, is losing her entire mind. Gaul casually mentions that he knows about the whole Euliminus incident, and Reese straight up asks if he's here for revenge. But nope, he's got a different offer. He wants Fio to join the Dark Army. Fio instantly refuses, but then he asks the real question: why isn't Gaul siding with the king? Turns out, Gaul has no interest in the war at all. He doesn't even know why they're still fighting. He explains that the first demon lord started this whole mess centuries ago to conquer the world. The humans fought back, and now, 5 centuries later, everyone's still fighting for that reason. Gaul, not being a fan of pointless battles, wants to end the war for good. But then, things get tense. Gaul suddenly exudes pure demonic pressure, realizing that Fio is an actual threat to demons. However, Fio stays completely chill and refuses to take sides. Gaul, amused, decides to let him be, for now. But he is interested in Balarosa, specifically how she managed to sit next to him without freaking out. After he leaves, the girls check on Balarosa, only to find that she's completely zoned out. She then passes out from sheer stress. But when she wakes up, Gaul is back again. And this time, he's casually eating Reese's cooking like he lives there. Balarosa tells him to go home, insisting Fio will never join the Dark Army. Gaul, ever the troll, invites her instead. She declines, but he just thinks she's too shy to accept. To avoid him, Balarosa suddenly runs off, yelling that she needs to train. But Gaul is persistent. He keeps visiting the house so much that a knight eventually spots him. Word spreads fast, and the king is furious. He jumps to the worst conclusion possible. Fio has joined the Dark Army. And since talking things out is clearly not an option, he decides that Fio must be eliminated. The princess, being the only rational one, suggests hearing Fio out first, but the king is too stubborn. Instead, he sends in the so-called hero to deal with him. Meanwhile, at the Demon Lord's castle, Euliminus warns Gaul that his behavior is making the other demons question his leadership. But he does not care. He's still focused on getting Fio to join him. The scene shifts to the Fio's place. He starts selling gear for money, refusing to fight because he knows his powers are too dangerous. But before he can make any sales, the hero arrives with an army of knights. The hero accuses Fio of betrayal and demands he fight for the kingdom. When Fio refuses, he's labeled a traitor. The girls stand by Fio, telling them that Fio is not a traitor, but the hero doubles down, threatening to arrest them all for treason. Fio realizes that he has no choice but to leave, and the girls want to join him because they're starting to question everything they learned in the kingdom. They think the hero is despicable because he's threatening to kill innocent people, and they realize that the demons aren't evil, so they aren't interested in participating in the war. Fio uses his teleportation spell, causing a massive circle to appear, and the hero can't believe that Fio is using magic that he can't use. Realizing there's no way out, Fio does what he does best. He teleports the entire house and fields to safety. The Knights is completely baffled. But Gaul suddenly arrives, realizing that the house is gone, and he blames the humans, thinking they got rid of Fio, so he becomes enraged, threatening to kill everyone. He orders the Dark Army to attack the kingdom, and Euliminus is excited, ordering the demons to prepare for battle. A dark cloud appears, but the hero is afraid, so he runs away, and the knights can't believe he's leaving them behind. Meanwhile, Fio and his friends arrive in a quiet forest, and the girls decide that no matter what happens, they're sticking with him. The Dark Army launches its attack, setting villages ablaze as desperate humans struggle to hold them back at the northern stronghold. A panicked knight rushes to the king, reporting that the stronghold is about to fall. The king, confused and annoyed, demands to know why the hero isn't stepping up. But plot twist, the knight reveals the so-called hero is hiding in the south, avoiding the battle altogether. The king, frustrated beyond belief, orders the knight to drag the coward back. Meanwhile, his advisors suggest gathering all the mages to cast a massive purification spell. The king hesitates. He knows it's a risky move, but they warn him there's no time to waste. If the demons break through, it's game over. On the battlefield, Gaul observes the chaos. His servant, Grendel, informs him that the humans are about to unleash a purification spell. Gaul decides to retreat. No way is he sticking around for that mess. Back in the kingdom, the king leads the mages in a powerful chant. A massive sigil forms in the sky, and a pillar of light engulfs the battlefield. Meanwhile, Outboy as casually strolls through town, not even remotely concerned about the war. Turns out, he's been checking out stores because he's planning to make money selling gear. Blossom, one of his companions, decides to help by selling vegetables, while Valerie considers breeding horses to rent out. Blossom explains that Valerie used to care for horses in the castle, so she's got experience. She promises to do her best to support the household. Meanwhile, Bolano and Balarosa feel utterly useless because they can't think of any way to earn money, but Riss reassures them, saying she'll take care of them. Theo chimes in, telling them to help around the house while training in their free time. Back at the castle, the king's advisors report that the Dark Army has retreated. The purification spell worked, but there's a catch. The mages are completely drained, and the spell will only last for 3 months. The princess realizes they're in serious trouble. The king is exhausted, barely able to function, so she steps up and takes charge. In the first order of business, she declares the hero useless and removes him from his position. The advisors protest, saying the kingdom still needs a hero to lead them. Unfortunately, summoning a new one isn't an option, so the princess decides to consult the oracle. Meanwhile, the so-called hero gets kicked out of the castle. A knight tells him it's the princess's order, but he throws a tantrum, insisting that the kingdom still needs him. The knight, completely unbothered, just walks away, leaving him outside to sulk. Back at Theo's place, Riss is doing what she does best, taking care of Theo. He thanks her for helping him survive, but she falls asleep before she can respond. He realizes just how peaceful his life has become because of her. The next morning, the girls push Theo to take Riss on a date, assuring him they'll handle things while he's gone. He gets flustered, but Riss is already excited. They visit the town together, and Theo insists on buying her a gift to thank her for always being by his side. They find a beautiful piece of jewelry, and he decides to buy it for her, thinking it looks perfect on her. Later that night, Theo is about to sleep, but Riss suddenly hugs him in her sleep. He panics, tries to move, but she just follows him. Now he's stuck, unable to sleep, while she peacefully snoozes away. Back at the castle, the ex-hero sneaks into the royal treasury, hoping to find a legendary item to defeat the demon lord. As he sulks about Theo being stronger than him, he suddenly hears a mysterious voice. The voice offers him power in exchange for setting her free. A secret passage opens, revealing a mysterious sword. The voice urges him to take it, promising to grant his wishes. The moment he does, the ground trembles, and a powerful being emerges. She introduces herself as Haya, the Majin of primordial light and darkness. She asks if he's the one who freed her. The hero confirms it, and she, true to her word, grants him 3 wishes. Meanwhile, the princess arrives at the oracle's chamber, seeking answers. But before she can get one, strange collars suddenly appear around everyone's neck. Panic spreads. The princess demands an explanation, and the oracle, Ursula, drops a terrifying bombshell. They've all been chosen as sacrifices. The Majin will behead them once she grants her final wish. The princess recalls that the Majin was once summoned to defeat the demon lord, but in return, she took countless lives, forcing them to seal her away. Now, with the seal broken, they're all doomed. Desperate for a solution, the princess begs Ursula to find a way out. The oracle concentrates, then reveals the only hope: they need the true hero. He's already been summoned, and is currently somewhere in the western part of the kingdom. The princess immediately knows who she's talking about. It's Theo. An advisor suggests rallying the soldiers to find him, but the princess knows the army is needed for defense, so she decides to go find him herself. Meanwhile, Theo is busy making business deals. He visits a merchant who inspects a shield Theo brought and is blown away by its craftsmanship because it's made from dragon scales that are very rare. The merchant then mentions that someone recently sold high-quality dragon meat in town. Theo casually admits it was him, flexing his top-tier goods. The merchant, impressed, agrees to buy his items and looks forward to future business. Balarosa, watching from a distance, is impressed by Fio's negotiation skills. Riss, knowing Fio used to be a merchant in his past life, isn't surprised. Balarosa, flustered, admits she likes him but quickly takes it back, not wanting to upset Riss. Riss, on the other hand, jokes about Gaul being a potential suitor but admits she's still wary of him because, well, he's the demon lord. Just as things seem peaceful, an ominous warning pops up in Fio's system that the Majin, Haya, is approaching, revealing that the hero's first wish is to eliminate Fio. So she attacks him as the system shields him with a barrier, but Riss gets in the way and she ends up getting mortally wounded. Haya creates multiple explosions, but Fio's barrier protects him, and she realizes that average magic won't work on him. So she prepares to cast an advanced spell. He tries to heal Riss, but the system tells him that the injury is too severe, so healing magic won't work on her, and he becomes worried, thinking he could lose her. Haya uses a powerful spell which creates a massive explosion, but it still can't get past Fio's barrier. He recalls the moments he spent with Riss, and we learn that he always wanted to protect her because he can't imagine living without her. So he becomes angry, and he tells Haya that he will never forgive her, as the system tells him that he has learned her abilities. He casts a time reversal spell, which allows him to save Riss, and Haya wonders how he's able to use it, thinking humans are supposed to be weak. But he suddenly hits her, so she becomes upset, telling him that she has achieved the pentacle of magic, but he smashes her to the ground, telling her to shut up. She tries to fight back, but he breaks through her spell, and she can't believe this is happening. So she checks his stats, realizing his skills are infinite. He continues to beat her, as she notes that she doesn't stand a chance, and Riz recovers, wondering why she isn't injured. So Balarosa explains that Fio saved her. But she's surprised to see him destroying Haya, and she thinks he's amazing knowing he's doing this because of her. But she recalls that he doesn't like fighting, and he's always been merciful, so she realizes that he's completely lost it. Haya starts fearing for her life, and she begs for mercy, but Fio can't forgive her for hurting Riss, so he decides to strangle her to death. But Riss tells him to stop, saying she likes him because he has a good heart, so she doesn't want to see him lose his kindness because of her. He decides to spare Haya, and he's happy to see that Riss is okay, because he thought she wasn't going to make it. Meanwhile, the princess is teleported to a forest by a group of mages. She thanks them, knowing full well they're still recovering, so she orders the knights to take care of them. But then, suddenly, the collars around their necks shatter into pieces. That's when she realizes the Majin failed to grant the wish. Back at the royal treasury, guards surround the hero, demanding that she surrender. Suya starts freaking out, convinced she's about to get executed. But then, a voice echoes in her head, whispering that the Majin has failed. And suddenly, a dark energy starts swirling around Suya, and says, "You will make a fine offering." The hero watches in horror as Suya's whole demeanor changes. She grins, claiming she's finally free after being sealed for centuries. With a flick of her fingers, she magically changes her clothes, leaving the hero completely baffled. Meanwhile, Fio walks through town with Riss, selling goods to his business partner. The merchant suggests adding gemstones to one of his products, but gemstones are ridiculously expensive. Before they can continue the conversation, a shadow looms over them. The hero has arrived, with Melanis. The villagers panic. The hero starts rampaging, and Melanis notices the princess fighting off guards with a spell. Haya rushes to Fio, warning that the monster is actually human, but is being controlled. She explains that Melanis was once the kingdom's strongest mage, but after using forbidden magic, she was sealed away. Turns out, she and Haya were locked in the same place. The humans used Haya's power to keep Melanis contained, but when Haya was released, Melanis was freed too. Haya asks for permission to eliminate Melanis. Fio allows it, but only if she prioritizes saving the villagers. Melanis is about to finish off the princess, but Haya crashes onto the scene. Melanis snaps, telling her to stay out of it, but Haya is unfazed. She says, "You're annoying my master," then charges to Melanis. Melanis tries magic, but Haya shrugs it off. Magic doesn't work on her. So, Melanis strengthens the hero with a forbidden spell, making him grow massive. The princess realizes the town is about to get destroyed. The ground shakes as he moves. Then suddenly, he shrinks. Fio arrives, having dispelled the magic. Melanis is stunned. Haya finishes the job, sealing her in a pellet. Then, she just casually eats it. She explains that she's in her psychic realm now. Everyone stares. Well, that's one way to handle things. With the hero back to normal, they decide to let the knights deal with him. Crisis averted for now. The princess steps forward with a graceful smile, introducing herself as Elizabeth. She thanks Haya for saving the kingdom, despite how terribly they treated him. Feeling guilty, she sincerely apologizes for their actions. Then, she drops a bombshell. She kicks the so-called hero to the curb because, well, he's completely useless. Instead, she went on a quest to find Theo, hoping he would become the true hero of the kingdom. But Theo is not interested. He just wants to live his best, most peaceful life with Riss. Back at home, Valerie greets him enthusiastically, revealing her grand plan, expanding their land to raise magical beasts. Blossom chimes in, suggesting they could also use the land to grow vegetables, which Valerie's beasts could then transport. But Riss isn't convinced. Magical beasts obey humans? Yeah, right. Instead, she proposes using regular horses. Valerie, however, points out a harsh truth. Horses are expensive. Still, she's confident that taming magical beasts is totally possible. Feely likes the idea, but there's a problem. Land costs a fortune. They can't afford it. Enter Theo, the problem solver. He offers to buy the land himself, letting the girls manage it and give him a portion of the profits. And they love the idea. The girls get to work plowing the fields. Theo suggests growing rare vegetables since they'll sell for more. He even offers to use magic to speed up the process. But Blossom shuts him down immediately, saying, "No shortcuts are allowed. Vegetables taste better when they grow naturally." However, Belana, now a magic instructor at an academy, is eager to see Haya's spell in action. She begs Blossom to reconsider, arguing that magic can make life easier. Finally, they reach a compromise that Haya will use magic on a small section, and they'll compare the results. Haya casts her spell, and the plants grow in an instant. Meanwhile, Theo casually drops another surprise. He wants to open a shop in the future. Riss is all in, promising to get her friends to buy from him. Then, in a moment straight out of a romance novel, he pulls out a gemstone ring, revealing that he crafted it himself. He wants her to consider it a wedding ring. Riss is overwhelmed with happiness. Cut to the so-called hero, who is now trapped in a dungeon. He orders that, how did he end up here? Suya, his companion, isn't optimistic. She thought they are getting executed, but the hero isn't about to die in a hole. He's ready to escape, no matter what it takes. Meanwhile, Balarosa is looking particularly dramatic in a black dress, as Euliminus congratulates her on her impending marriage. Gaul appears, confidently declaring that she's going to be his wife. The demons also promise to conquer the world as a wedding gift, but before Gaul can kiss her, she jolts awake, horrified. Why do I keep dreaming about him?
The next day, Riss notices Balarosa looking troubled. When she asks, Balarosa brushes it off as a nightmare. Riss, however, has a different theory. Balarosa is in love. Balarosa denies it aggressively, but the girls overhear and immediately start gossiping. They point out that Gaul always visits, clearly because he likes her. Balarosa insists that he only wants to kill her since she threatened him when they first met. But the girls aren't buying it. They say, you could be like Theo and Riss crossing the race barrier with true love. Switching gears, they ask Riss what she loves about Theo. She blushes, admitting it's his naive personality and how comfortable he makes her feel. Theo, overhearing everything, is now redder than a tomato. Suddenly, an alarm blares. The system reports a demon in town. The group immediately goes into high alert. Elsewhere, Elizabeth is dealing with a problem of her own. Her advisors inform her that the gold coins Theo gave them were issued by the castle, even though they were never publicly distributed. Then, a horrible realization hits her. Banaza, the hero she dismissed, might have been disguising himself as Theo. Now she understands why Theo refused to fight for them. She knows they need to make it up to him. But before she can act, a knight rushes in with more bad news. The hero and Suya have escaped. She orders an immediate search. In the woods, the hero and Suya are hiding behind a bush. He's fuming, blaming Haya for making him look like a criminal. Suya bluntly reminds him that they're fugitives now. He insists he did nothing wrong, but Suya points out that he stole a bottomless bag from the treasury. He shrugs, calling it a well-earned reward. Eager to see what's inside, he opens it, expecting riches, but instead, he finds a magic shovel. Disappointed but curious, he digs a hole, and to his shock, he instantly tunnels underground. Just as the knights arrive, they find nothing but an empty bush. Meanwhile, at the Demon Lord's castle, Gaul discusses the missing hero with Euliminus. He's convinced the hero is still in the kingdom, as he hasn't teleported out. Euliminus urges Gaul to focus on their invasion, suggesting they take down the castle first. But Gaul is hesitant. He knows Theo's purification magic is a problem. Euliminus assures him that she's been handling the doubting demons. Gaul, however, refuses to sacrifice his people just to secure a victory. In the shadows, a demon named Fufin is eavesdropping. She quickly reports to Gaul's brother, Urigar, who is furious. Gaul is trying to recruit a human? Unforgivable. Urigar, convinced that demons must crush humans, decides to overthrow Gaul and destroy the kingdom himself. Back in town, Theo is confused. He notices a shopkeeper closing early, explaining that demon attacks have ruined trade routes. Riss realizes how deeply the war is hurting the villagers. Just as they're about to eat lunch, Balarosa invites them out for a treat, revealing that her adventurer rank has gone up. Riss is suspicious, but before they can question her, Haya rushes in, announcing that a demon with immense magic is approaching. She prepares to fight, but Riss stops her. The threat is revealed to be Gaul, casually strolling in. They awkwardly end up eating together. Gaul tells Balarosa he's happy to see her again. Balarosa freaks out. Her dream was a premonition. Gaul, meanwhile, is raving about human food, calling it superior to demon cuisine. Then, he drops a request. He wants Theo to join him. Balarosa is livid and says, "Are you trying to ruin our lives?" Gaul, surprisingly serious, explains that demons are a real threat to humans. Theo argues that he's been living peacefully with Riss, but Haya warns them about a toxic substance called melicium, which all demons have. Those who can't control it release small amounts into their surroundings, making them dangerous to humans. Riss defends her demon friends, arguing that they can control melicium. Gaul adds that demons are naturally violent, then casually bids farewell, promising they'll meet again. Theo is left pondering the harsh truth. Maybe humans and demons can't coexist after all. He pulls Riss into a tight hug, needing a moment to process everything. Meanwhile, Suya climbs her way to the surface, only to get hilariously stuck halfway. The hero, distracted by her struggle, loses his grip and falls back into the tunnel. Finally, back at home, Theo and his friends share a meal. Everyone is impressed. Riss's cooking has improved. She credits her teacher, Melino, saying she ran into her recently. As they eat together, the peaceful moment lingers, but the looming conflict remains ever present in their